1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a chapter to practice.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Practice. Okay, so here we are on the first problem. The topic is beginning understanding of adding and multiplying integers and rational numbers. So our first problem involves adding integers, and we have a span of tightrope, which is 6 feet, that we need to cross, and we can do it with the lengths 1, 3, or 4. And they want us to come up with 2 different ways to do it. And remember, we can use these different lengths multiple times. So with this one, I'm just going to start adding numbers that I can see will add up to 6. So the first one I can see right off the bat is I have a 3 right here. So if I do 3 plus 3, that's going to be 6 feet. There's 1. Then I'm going to go ahead and try to use my other length. So I have a 4-foot length. So I'm going to start with 4, and I'm 2 away from 6 feet. So if I add 1 twice, I will again have 6 feet. So that is, that's letter A right there. So now on to letter B. Now we have an 8-foot tightrope, and we have the lengths 2, 5, and 7 feet. I know right off the bat if I go with 7 feet that I'm going to be too close to the 8 feet, so I would have to come back. I'm going to have to go past it and come back. So I'm going to go ahead and see if there's a way I can get there directly first. I see I have a 2. I know that if I add 2 twice, if I add 2 twice, that's going to give me 4. Plus another 2 is 6, and plus another 2 is 8 feet. So that's one way that'll get me there. And then the rest of the numbers I can see I can't add up other than just using all 2s. I can't add up to 8, so I'm going to need to go past the rope and come back. Or past the span of tie rope, yeah, and then come back. So I'm going to start with 5. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 7. And right now I know that 5 plus 7 is 12. Well, to get from 12 back to 8, I need to go back 4. And I got a 2 here. So I'm going to take away 2, and I'm going to take away 2 one more time. And that gets me back to 8 feet. All right, number 2, letter A. I have to simplify the following expression. So I have 5 plus 2 plus 8. I know that 5 and 2 give me 7. And now I have 7 and 8, and I know that's going to add up to 15. Letter B, I have 4 plus 9 plus 3. Again, I'm just going to add the first 2. So I know 4 plus 9 is going to give me 13. And then 13 plus 3 gives me 16. Ooh, whacked my video stand. All right, letter C. 7 plus 3 plus 2 plus a negative 4. So we have a negative in here now. 7 plus 3 is going to give me 10. And I still have the rest. And now 10 plus 2 is going to give me 12. And now 12 plus a negative 4. I know that when I add a negative, that's the same as subtracting. So I'm going to go back to the left on the number line. So I start at 12 and I go back 4 numbers. So that's going to give me 8. And letter D, I have 8 plus 6 plus 2 plus negative 5. 8 plus 6 gives me 14. Everybody else is still there. 14 plus 2 is 16. Excuse me. Negative 5. Tried to change the problem there. And now again, I'm adding a negative number, so I'm going to want to go back on the number line. So I'm at 16, and I'm going to want to go back 5 spaces. And that's going to bring me to 11. All right, 3A, we're up here. They're asking us to use a number line to show our work as we find the value of each expression. Here's my number line. I have 0 over here. I have my positives to the right of 0 and my negatives to the left of 0. I'm counting by 1s. My first number here is negative 5. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at negative 5. So here I am right now over here at negative 5. And I'm going to add 3.25. So when I'm adding a positive number, I'm going to move to the right. So starting from 5, I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, and now I need to go 0.25. So I'm going to go 0.25. So what's interesting here is you can see we're at -2, and I'm going to go 0.25 past -2. So it's not going to be -2.5, or sorry, -2.25, because that would be over here. This is the numbers in between -2 and -3. This is in between -1 and -2. And that's actually going to give me the number -1, because I'm right here, and then all this distance right here, which is 0.75. So -1.75. And now let's move down to B. And I have 3.18 plus -7. Again, we're going to use the number line. I already have it drawn out for you. So I'm going to start at 3.18 on this one, because that's the number on the left. So just to kind of keep things consistent. So we start about 3.18. Figure that's about 0.18. Now when I add a -7, I'm going to actually be moving to the left, because a negative number is taking me back to the left in the negative direction. So as I go back, I'm going to stay on the, what I guess I'll call the 0.18 of each number. So I'm not going to actually touch the 2 or the 1. I'm going to be at 2.18, the 1.18, 0.18, and so on. So I'm going to go back here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And again, we did a little interesting thing here because we went over the 0 and we're on the negative side now. So where 0.18 was before, once I went over 0, a whole number, I'm actually at a different number now. I'm actually going to be at 0.82. So when I get over here, I'm in between -3 and -4, and I'm going to be at -3.82. Okay, here we are at number 4. We have 3.5 times 5 2/3. When I multiply fractions, mixed number fractions, I like to convert them both to improper fractions first. So 3 1/2. To make that improper fraction, I take the denominator. I multiply it by the whole number. So 2 times 3 is 6, because 3 is 6 halves. And then I'm going to add the 1/2 that I have here. So it's going to give me 7 halves. Now for 5 2/3, we're going to do the same thing. To make 5 into thirds, I go 3 times 5. So 5 is 15 thirds. And then I add 2. So that's 17 thirds. And I'm still multiplying these numbers. Now when I multiply fractions, I'm going to multiply across. I first look to see if there's any common multiples I can cancel out from the bottom to the top. 2 doesn't go into 7 or 17, and neither does 3. So I'm just going to have to multiply here. So 7 times 17, I know 7 times 10 is 70, and I know 7 times 7 is 49. So I can add 70 and 49, and I'm going to get 119. And in the denominator, I have 2 times 3, which is 6. Copy because I have a graph and I want to be able to look at it. So we have a coordinate plane. We have our x-axis here going horizontally and our y-axis going vertically. Notice that the x-axis is positive on the right and negative on the left, and the y-axis is positive on top and negative on the bottom. So the first question says the coordinates for point A are -3, 5. Explain how these numbers tell you the position of point A using the graph. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain this to you in words rather than writing it out. We know that this first value here, -3, is the x value. So we know that that means on the x-axis, I'm going to move -3 units. And I know my negative numbers are to the left. So I'm going to start at the origin, and I'm going to move back 1, 2, and 3. And here I am right now, I'm at -3. But then I need to do my y-coordinate, which is 5. And it's a positive 5, so I'm going to move, when the y-axis is positive, is up. So I'm going to move up from where I was at -3 5 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's my A Sure enough. So that's how -3, 5 gets me to the point A. Now for letter B, it says name the coordinates x, y for the points B and C. So we're going to do a similar thing, but we're going to work a little backwards this time. This time we're going to go to where the letter is, and then we're going to figure out what the coordinates were from there. So if I look at where B is here, first I'm going to look at the x-axis. It looks like I'm going to move back to -5. It looks like it's about -5 for B. So I'm going to go ahead and write -5 right now because I know that's my x coordinate. That's my first one. And then B is down below, so it's going to be in the negative direction for y as well. And it looks like it also lines up with -5 right here. So -5, -5 is going to work for B. Now for C, we start in the positive direction for x. We go 4 over to the right. That's 4. And then it comes down 2. It looks like it lines up with -2. So 4, -2. Now our last question says, if Samantha moved point A 9 units down and 6 units to the right, at what point would she end up? So let's start at A. So we're still here at A. And I'm at 5. So when I go 9 units down, I'm going to go 5 back to 0. And then I still have 4 more units I need to move. So I'm at -4 now for my y coordinate. And then they want us to move 6 units to the right. So I'm at -3. So I'm going to move 3 to the origin and then 3 more over. And I'm sorry that I have writing in the way. But this is where my new point is going to be. And I'm at +3 and -4. So I'm going to be, for C, my answer is going to be 3, -4. Okay, so for number 6, we got Troy's fan of baseball. His favorite player is Mo Jower. And we got this table that we're going to need to graph. And the table is right here. But I'm going to just have that off screen. So hopefully you can see that if you have your practice test app. I already went ahead and made my graph before. On the y-axis, I put the number of home runs. On the x-axis, I put the season. I did that not only because it's written with the season on the x side, but the season is the independent variable and the home runs are the dependent variable. Meaning the season comes first and then that determined how many home runs he hit. So we're going to go ahead and, one thing I want you to notice real fast is that I numbered the x and y axis. I went by ones, and I went by a consistent number on both of them. Meaning as I went along the x, I didn't go 1, 3, 7, 15. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the same along the y-axis. So make sure you're counting by the same number consistently up. So season 1, I go to season 1. We had 6 home runs. I go up to 6. I plot it. Season 2, we had 9 home runs. So I go up to, that's 8 actually, excuse me. Ignore that one. And season 3, I had 13, or he had 13 home runs. So I'm going to go up to 13. Season 4 looks like 7. I go up to 7. And then finally season 5, I go up to 9. And I'm not going to connect these points because there's no data in between them. So in between season 2 and 3, there's not a season 2.5 where you hit a certain number of home runs. So we're just going to leave these as discrete points.